By the way, with that wind-up, by the way, I understand that you were an aspiring fiction writer. I see why.
Oh, yeah. Well, I understand your view that you can cut half of the agency and it won't affect people's health or their water, their air. That, to me, is a big fiction, Mr. Zeldin.
You've forgot about the fact of cleaning up
I have to
the
think,
LA
Mr. Zeldin,
wildfires.
I think, Mr. Zeldin, if your children were drinking water, if your children were drinking water in Santa Ana, Mr. Zeldin, maybe you wouldn't be so cavalier about whether there was lead in their water. Maybe you would give a damn instead of coming in here and suggesting that any grant that takes lead out of the water must be waste, fraud, or abuse because you need the money for a tax cut for rich people because you're totally beholden to the oil industry. You could give a rat's ass about how much cancer your agency causes.
The gentleman's time has expired.
The hearing room was tense. Adam Schiff launched into a fiery tirade, accusing Master Zeldin of gutting the Environmental Protection Agency, dismantling protections and putting millions of Americans at risk. But what Schiff didn't expect was a sharp, unapologetic rebuttal that cut through the noise. This clash wasn't just about policy, it was about truth versus political theater. Schiff wasted no time painting a dark picture. He accused Zeldin of unlawfully freezing grants, firing scientists, and slashing more than half of the EPA's budget. With dramatic flair, Schiff claimed that Zeldin's actions would lead to skyrocketing cancer rates, poisoned water, and polluted air across America. Zeldin didn't flinch. Schiff grew impatient. Let's dive in.
But it is not for the American people. You've unlawfully terminated grants without justification. You've fired and pushed out some of the best scientists who inform EPA's decision-making. You refuse to spend money that Congress has appropriated to the EPA by law. And you've launched a pro-polluter effort to delete dozens of environmental protections. On top of all this, you've launched an effort to overturn California's Clean Air Act waivers that improve the quality of air breathed by 40 million Californians and by millions more in other states who have adopted California's high standards. That effort, for which my colleagues have decided to eliminate the filibuster to achieve, is not exactly what anyone would call cooperative federalism. But it's your budget that's the ultimate proof of your priorities. You propose cutting America's environmental agency by 55%, meaning that in your view, and that of President Trump, more than half of the environmental efforts of the EPA, more than half of the efforts to make sure Americans have clean air and clean water are just a waste. They're just a waste. Meaning that Californians and people all over the country, when they breathe the air, thanks to your good work, it'll mean there's more diesel and more other particulate matter in the air. When they drink a glass of water, they may not be able to see it, but this water that Americans drink is going to have more chemicals like PFAS, forever chemicals in their water. This will be your good work. I want to be very specific about the legacy you're going to leave if you're successful in eliminating half of our efforts to clean our water and our air. Your legacy will be more lung cancer. It'll be more bladder cancer. It'll be more head and neck cancer. It'll be more breast cancer. It'll be more leukemia and pancreatic cancer, more liver cancer, more skin cancer, more kidney cancer, more testicular cancer, more colorectal cancer, more rare cancers of innumerable varieties. That will be your legacy. I don't know that that's a legacy that anyone should want to have. My kids are going to be breathing that air just like yours. My family's going to be drinking the water just like yours. We may not be able to pinpoint just who gets cancer because you've done away with half the budget of those looking out for our clean water and clean air. But it's going to be somebody's kids, it's going to be somebody's family. To put this in more specific terms, there are 22 grants frozen by the EPA focused on improving health and reducing pollution, many of which directly impact children. For example, one project in Santa Ana, California, provided funding to help detect and prevent lead poisoning in children. According to the census, about 10% of the population in Santa Ana are under the age of 9. With a population of about 310,000 people, that means that 31,000 children are at risk of lead poisoning in Santa Ana without this funding. What is it about this grant that you and EPA believe is problematic enough to freeze this funding and put potentially 31,000 children at risk?
Senator, who is the grant applicant?
This is to the city of Santa Ana.
You have the biggest,
And are
you have the
you-
biggest
are you-
state, so
and
we're
are
going to have to
you-
go through every single list of the grant.
Well,
by the way, with that wind up, by the way, I understand that you were an aspiring fiction writer. I see why.
Oh, yeah. Well, I understand your view that you can cut half of the agency and it won't affect people's health or their water, their air. That, to me, is a big fiction, Mr. Zeldin.
You've forgot about the fact of cleaning up
I have
after
to think,
LA
Mr.
wildfires.
Zeldin, I think, Mr. Zeldin,
President when I was in San Diego,
if your children were
with the
drinking
Tijuana
water,
River sewage crisis,
if your
apparently
children
we're going
were
out on our
drinking
own for
water
that.
in Santa Ana, Mr. Zeldin, maybe you wouldn't be so cavalier about whether there was lead in their water. Maybe you would give a damn instead of coming in here and suggesting that any grant that takes lead out of the water must be waste, fraud, or abuse because you
gentleman's
need
time has
because
expired.
you
Who said
need
that? The whole
the
thing,
money for a
everything
tax
you
cut
said,
for rich people
your time. It's all
because
make-believe.
you're totally beholden to the oil industry.
The
is
gentleman's
this-
time.
You could give a rat's ass about how much
It's
cancer
because
your
people
agency
you're trying to
causes.
destroy.
The
Impeach,
gentleman's
resist.
time has expired.
The heated exchange finally came to an end. The difference between the two men was undeniable. Adam Schiff came armed with alarmist rhetoric, painting apocalyptic scenarios of poisoned water, rising cancer rates, and children in danger. His words were meant to instill fear, to dramatize the situation, and to sway emotions without providing real solutions. But Zeldin didn't fall into the trap. He didn't match hysteria with hysteria. He countered with calm reasoning, clear facts, and a determination to expose wasteful spending. Zeldin reminded the committee and the American people that leadership isn't about shouting louder or painting wild doomsday scenarios. It's about accountability, responsibility, and ensuring that taxpayer dollars actually serve the people, not bloated bureaucracies or politically motivated programs. By pushing back, Zeldin highlighted that cutting through inefficiency doesn't mean turning a blind eye to health or safety. It means protecting both by ensuring every dollar is used wisely. While Schiff tried to frame Zeldin as the villain, the reality was plain for everyone watching. Schiff's accusations were steeped in political theater, exaggerations, and personal attacks. Zeldin's response, however, showed composure and a deep commitment to reforming a system that has too often failed to deliver real results. The contrast was powerful. One man relied on fear, while the other relied on facts. Zeldin's refusal to back down under pressure sent a strong message that he's not in Washington to play games, but to make tough decisions that matter. He stood firm, exposed Schiff's hollow accusations, and made it clear that leadership means putting the American people above political grandstanding.